Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the monthly meeting of the Avon Board of Education at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. I'll start our meeting by introducing who's sitting up here at the table for anybody who's new to us so that you are aware of who's speaking. And I will start with board members. I am Deborah Shute, I'm the chair. We have Dr. Thage Singh, our vice chair.
Present, Deb, thank you.
Jeffrey Fleischman, our secretary.
Present, thank you.
Lynn Katz is online with us tonight. Sarah Heath is also online with us tonight. Nicole Russo.
Present, thank you.
Suzanne Zakaris.
Present, thank you.
Chris Campbell.
Here, thank you.
And Ramesh Kandapilli.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. And as for our administrators, we have Dr. Carnamola, our superintendent.
Good evening, thanks.
Mr. Giannini, our assistant superintendent.
Here, thank you.
Mr. Medic, our assistant superintendent.
Here, thank you.
Ms. Russo, our business manager.
Present, thank you.
And Ms. Sardinskas cannot join us this evening. She's our executive assistant to the superintendent and board clerk, but we do have Ms. Ferry with us sitting and helping out with all things technical. So thank you very much. If you would all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So I always start off our meetings by reading the mission statement just to remind us all of why we come together to do this work. Our mission is to inspire in each student a joy and passion for learning and a commitment to excellence, personal integrity, and social responsibility. It's also the perfect segue into our recognition piece. And so I'm very excited to be recognizing Ms. Ferry this evening. So I am inviting Ms. Antonelli up.
Yes, I think we have a number of our library media specialists back there who came to recognize our Elizabeth tonight.
Please come on up. The microphone would be great, yes.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Good evening. Nice to see you all. My name is Angela Antonelli. I'm a library media specialist at Pine Grove School. And I'm also here tonight as a board member of CASEL, the Connecticut Association of School Librarians, to present the 2025 CASEL Administrator Award to Elizabeth Ferry. This award recognizes an administrator who has shown exceptional leadership and unwavering support for school library programs. In addition, the recipient has taken actions that directly strengthen teaching, learning, and student engagement across the district. Elizabeth was nominated by the library management team, or not library management, library media team rather, me, Lauren Begoyan, Julia Cohens-Willem, Amanda Koski, Rebecca Kerrigan, and Jess Rotacco. I'm proud to share why Elizabeth is so deserving of this recognition. Here are some highlights from the nomination form. In addition to her role as Director of Educational Technology for Avon Public Schools, in 2023, Elizabeth became the direct district supervisor and evaluator for all library media specialists. From the onset, Elizabeth demonstrated a deep understanding of what strong student-centered libraries need to thrive. She provided dedicated time for essential library management tasks, collaboration, curriculum writing, and relevant and meaningful professional development. She always advocates for district-wide support of Avon Public School libraries, and through her vision and collaboration, she's created a culture of respect, relevance, and responsiveness, elevating both our work and our students' experiences. So on behalf of the CASEL Board and the Avon Library Media Team, it's my great honor to present the 2025 CASEL Administrator Award to Elizabeth Ferry. Before you sit down.
You know how this works. So first and foremost, I want to say how much we appreciate you. It's been wonderful working alongside you while being in this role because you are so connected to the students as well as the staff. And you're so easy to work with in terms of breaking it down so it makes sense to all of us because you're up here and we're like figuring out down here. But you do such a nice job. And I know even when my kids were in the schools, everybody knew who you were and you knew who they were. And I think that matters because you're going above and beyond the role by connecting to the community and you're part of our community. So we are absolutely thrilled that you're being recognized in this way because you definitely have earned it. And you know we have a certificate and you know we want to shake your hand and we want to take pictures with you. So I don't know, do you want to say anything?
No, I just want to again congratulate you, Elizabeth. I want to thank all of our library media specialists who came out to do that. And also, again, thank you but publicly for doing the nomination for Elizabeth, because we know you are so deserving of it and so excited that you've earned it for us in Avon. And this is for the entire state. So thank you, Angela, for serving on the board and for helping present this to Elizabeth and being here tonight. Elizabeth is the kind of person that when you call, no matter what it is you need, she does it. Yeah. And sometimes we have to tell her to stop that. But because everyone can only do so much, but Elizabeth is a great example of no task is too big or small, and I certainly really appreciate that, and I know that our entire team does, so thank you.
Yes. Another round of applause. Please.
Can we ask our library media specialist to come up too before we?
Yep, and as they're coming up, I just really want to, I want to just say something really quickly about them, because the support that they may say I provide to them is only a mirror of the support that they give to me and to our schools. We are very fortunate to have the library media specialists that we have in our school district. I know this because I know some from other school districts, and they do a great job, but ours go above and beyond, not just in our own community, but also as a representation of with Angela's role on the board, but also other statewide programs and playing roles in all different types of library media associations. And we are extremely fortunate. And if you've never had an opportunity to see them in action in the library, it's phenomenal. And some of the things that they do blow my mind every single time I go in there, and the excitement that the kids have. And the big piece too for them is making sure that our kids are still having that love for reading and that passion for reading. And I see it every single time I go into their library spaces. So thank you.
Thank you.
You come join us over here. Congratulations. Yes, please come join us. We'll take a picture over here. Just line up over on this side. We love that. And if our library media specialists would like to excuse themselves, we will not be offended. We appreciate you coming out and celebrating Elizabeth with us. Thank you so much.
School starts early.
Yes, yes it does. All right, moving on to our approval of the minutes from last month's monthly meeting. I know that, Nicole, did you want to make an amendment? So do you want to make the motion or speak to what the amendment is?
Okay. I would just like it added, the conversation that we had regarding supplemental materials and assignments added to the minutes otherwise.
Okay, so do you mind making the motion then? You can just say to approve the minutes with your addition.
Sorry. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2025 meeting with the addition of the conversation regarding supplemental materials and assignments.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Suzanne. All in favor? Aye. And do I see your hands online? Yes, thank you. I have unanimous with 9. Thank you. Next is our communication from the public. Do we have the sign-up sheet somewhere? To see if there's anybody signed up. Yes? Okay, let me read the instructions for this section of our meeting. This is the section of our meeting where Avon residents have the floor to share their thoughts and or concerns with the board. It's not an opportunity for conversation, rather it's the board's chance to listen to feedback from the community. Please add your name to the list, and we will then call you forward in order. You must state your name and address for the record. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. In an effort to hear as many of you as we can, we must adhere to this time limit. You can certainly state that you agree or disagree with the previous comment if you'd prefer to be brief. Brevity will allow more attendees to be heard. After 15 minutes are up, the board may choose to extend public comment or not. No speaker will include charges or complaints of a personal nature against any individual Avon Board of Education member or individual employee of the Avon Board of Education, whether the speaker names the individual or not. Please refrain from clapping or cheering. Tonight, Jeff Fleischman, our secretary, will be our timekeeper. If you should reach 2.5 minutes, he will alert you with a 30-second warning. At the 3-minute mark, you'll be alerted again to signal that your time is up. We welcome your engagement and participation. So who is our first person? All right, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ariana Khan. I'm from 14 Weatherstone. First off, thank you for letting the MSA and the FAMC use the school gym for Eid prayers and for supporting our fundraisers. That kind of partnership matters. It shows that Avon is willing to open its doors, but inclusion doesn't stop at the door. It requires a place on the calendar. I've spoken here before, and I'm here again because this is important, not just for me, but for the other Muslim students here in Avon who are still navigating a system that doesn't account for one of the most important days in our year. Right now, our district recognizes Christmas, Good Friday, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and Diwali, which is amazing, and it reflects the variety of faiths in our town. But Eid al-Fitr, one of the 2 biggest Muslim holidays in the world, is still missing. For Muslim students, Eid often feels like a choice. Do we celebrate with our families, or do we take the test? Do we pray, or do we show up for school? Either way, someone loses, and it shouldn't be our fate. By high school, this balancing act becomes almost routine. Sitting in class while your family's at the mosque, watching the celebrations unfold from afar. Laughing at the jokes you're missing, but still feeling a little out of place. Funny? Maybe. Normal? Never. And over time, it teaches a lesson that no student should have to learn so young, that tradition can be seen as an afterthought. Now, one of the reasons we've heard for not recognizing Eid as a school holiday is that it doesn't have a fixed date. That's fair, but let's be honest, snow days don't have fixed dates either, and yet we still find a way to account for those. Local mosques like the FAMC right here in Avon recognize the expected date months in advance. Other districts in Connecticut, Stamford, Norwalk, Trumbull, Bridgeport, and Waterbury have figured it out. If they can make it work, so can we. Because diversity isn't just a paragraph in the district handbook, it's a promise. And a promise means more when you can point to it on a school calendar. It's proof that the district's values actually show up in real life, not as an act of generosity, but as a reflection of the community we already are. So tonight, on behalf of the students, families, and teachers who've said this is important, and because I've been part of this conversation before, I'm asking you to do something truly meaningful. Make Eid al-Fitr a recognized school holiday. Make it real, make it official, make it ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. We have another? How many do we have on there?
9.
Okay, and is the board comfortable with us just doing our 3 minutes for all 9? Okay, let's just do that then.
Thank you very much for letting me speak here today. My name is Sadiq Naveed. I wrote something and then I forgot my reading glasses, and I didn't have my evening chai, so my brain and eyes are not working. So my name is Sadiq Naveed. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist and probably one of very few who have completed a fellowship in infant and early childhood mental health. Me and my family moved to Avon about 5 years ago, and one of the very few reasons we moved to Avon was the Avon School District, because I have a son. And so I really want to appreciate you, the work you do every day. Today, I bring your attention to an important matter, and we'll appreciate your advocacy and support on recognizing Eid as an official holiday on school calendar. As many of you know, and Ariana also pointed out, that many other religious and cultural holidays are already recognized by Avon School District, including Christmas and Diwali and Yom Kippur. And also in the state of Connecticut, many other towns have recognized Eid as an official school holiday. Formally recognizing Eid as a holiday is just not as simply adding a day on the calendar. It is in cultural affirmation. It tells kids, Muslim youth, that your religion, your faith, your traditions, and your value matters to us. And we are also part of the community, which is Avon School District. In Avon, there are about 250 Muslim families and roughly about more than 100 kids who are enrolled in Avon School District. So by recognizing this, we give them a sense of belonging. We appreciate their religious identity. And I know, being a psychiatrist, this in terms help with their sense of self-efficacy, self-esteem, and it also protects against many mental health illnesses and psychiatric illnesses. So I will leave with this. Dan Siegel, one of the prominent developmental psychiatrists, said this, that a child or youth's innate desire is to be seen, be heard, be soothed, and felt secure. So let's make this part of the school calendar,
30
so our
seconds.
Muslim youth can be feel heard, supported, and most importantly, seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Okay, you're next. Please come on forward.
Hi, my name is Sabria Ahmed. I'm from 2 Camden Way. First of all, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here today. I've lived in Avon for 15 years, my entire life, and it's truly become my home, all 15 years. Both my brothers went through the Avon Public School District, and I'm doing so currently, so I'm really thankful to have Avon as a part of my life, and I'm really grateful for it. So growing up as a first-generation Muslim American, I've always been proud of my identity and the hope that one day I could carry on my family's traditions and customs. I remember the early mornings when my mother would wake me up and our house would be filled with a hectic yet exciting atmosphere. It was Eid, a day that gave me a feeling like no other. Half asleep, I would get dressed in my best clothes, head to the mosque to pray alongside my community, and afterward eat sweets and laugh with my friends. Visiting family friends' houses was one of the highlights of the day. I would carefully plan what I ate so I could try a little bit of food at each home. Eid was and still is a day when I could let go of my worries and simply spend time with loved ones. Small gestures like when my uncles and aunts would slip me money for my Eid gift and tell me to buy myself ice cream, that meant the world to me. At school, I always appreciated how holidays were celebrated in the classroom. Gingerbread houses, pumpkin painting, and festive decorations never failed to lift my spirits. Yet while my classmates went home for breaks to celebrate their holidays with family, I went home as if it were any other weekday. I was happy to have no school, but I wish the same recognition applied to my holiday, the one that Muslim boys and girls like me cherished. As I grew older, missing school for Eid became an even greater frustration. The joy of celebrating came at the cost of losing valuable academic time. Eid is a holiday that millions around the world look forward to, a day of community, joy, and faith. To not have it recognized in the school is to strip Muslims in the Avon community and not allowing them to express their religion. When addressing this issue, I want you all to imagine your children or perhaps your nieces and nephews and how they would feel if they lost the holidays of Christmas, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and many more to a full day of school, because that very feeling of loss is what I am afraid has become routine to Muslim youth like me, and is why recognition of Eid is not simply a matter of convenience, but of fairness, dignity, and ultimately belonging. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. Next.
Hi, my name is Faryal Mirza. I am a physician, professor of medicine, and an endocrinologist at UConn Health. My husband and I and our family have been residents of Avon for the last 22 years. We came here when our youngest one was only 2 years old, and they have all gone through the Avon school system and a tribute to the excellent school system that this town has to offer. You've heard a lot about Eid here. And what I'd like to say is that Eid is equivalent to Christmas for the Muslims. It involves early morning prayers, family gatherings, and community events. And all of these are very difficult to participate in fully when children have the stress of managing the school attendance as well. We, as a rule, did make sure that our kids took the day off, but that meant that I had to write absent letters for them. They had to still try to complete the work before, and if there was a significant test, I had to rather reach out to the teachers to make arrangements for them to miss out on those. Without a formal holiday, the children did feel the pressure of it, missing out on all that work. and at times feeling excluded when they felt that their traditions were not recognized. So as parents, my husband and I struggle to support the observance of this important day with our children while helping them try to stay strong academically. And I feel that a public holiday would relieve these pressures of their children, allowing families to celebrate together without stress or penalty. It would foster a more inclusive school environment, promote student well-being, and affirm that all cultural and religious practices in our towns are valued and respected. I really thank the board for positively considering this respect. And my son actually is next on the list, but he's on his way here. He's a fourth-year med student in Avon High School. And he's here. So if he's here, then I'd like to talk to him.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Mercer. Okay. So next. Yep.
Hi, good evening. Apologize for being late, but thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Mohsen Mirza. I'm currently a medical student at UConn. I moved to Avon with my parents in 2003, lived here ever since. I wanted to share a bit of a different perspective than what I think you guys have been hearing for the last, at least tonight and the last couple of weeks as well. I'm sure people have talked about, you've heard from students, from their parents, about their experiences and the sacrifices, the accommodations they've had to make to celebrate their holidays while not having school off. But what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, the main message I wanted to convey is that the Muslim community in Avon and the Avon community are one and the same. I think there are two phrases that are synonyms of each other. And to illustrate this, I wanted to share the perspectives of people who couldn't be here tonight. And that is people that I went to high school with, Muslims that are my age, who graduated from AHS in 2018, before that as well. And when I think about this, I think about some of my friends from that time. I'm not sure if any of their families are here tonight, but I think of Ismail Reza. His family moved to Avon before mine did, so that's before 2003. And he graduated in 2012, 1 year after my sister, and he went to UConn for undergrad. He studied chemistry and engineering, and he chose to move back to Avon, and he still lives and works here today. I think about some of my other friends. My good friend Daniel Athar, his family has 4 sons. All 4 of them went to Avon High School for their education. Daniel himself, he went to UConn afterwards. He graduated, and he came back to Avon, where he worked as a medical assistant in a dermatology practice here, caring for our friends and our neighbors. He's also a medical student at UConn now. And interestingly, I was talking with him this weekend about career planning. How do you pick a medical field, which is not an easy task? And he said something which was relevant, in that it seems like all roads lead back to Avon. You plan to finish medical school, go to residency, and after that, the plan still is come back to Avon and live and work in this community. I think about Mr. Dreedy, our beloved community member, who's a teacher here at this very school. Over the last many years, he's taught generations of Avon community members.
30 seconds left.
Sure. The point that I'm trying to make, though, is that Muslims are core members of the Avon community. They teach in our schools, they work in our hospitals, and I grew up in this community that taught me that we need to care for others, we need to respect others, and when I was growing up, it was different. The community wasn't as big, it wasn't as strong, but I hope that we're reaching a point in time where the community can extend the same benefits, like school holidays, to the Muslim students that we extend to our neighbors. Thank you.
That's time.
Thank you, Mr. Mirza. Okay.
There's a little bit of scribble up, so question. Okay, Yusuf?
Okay.
All right, Oscar.
Good evening. I'm Asfer Adam, a sophomore at AHS. I'm here to ask that we add Eid as an official school holiday. For Muslim students and families in our community, Eid is one of the most important days of the year. No student should have to choose between their education and their religion. though right now, students often have to miss school to celebrate it, which means they can fall behind on classwork, tests, or important information. Many other school districts have already added Eid to their calendars, and it has helped their students feel more included and supported. This simple change would show that Avon values fairness, respect, and inclusion for all families. Adding Eid would make a meaningful difference to the students who celebrate it, and it would help our schools better reflect the diverse community we have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam. Sorry, the mic height has been a little challenging this evening.
I'm vertically challenged.
Me too.
Good evening. I'm Rania Rafay. I live at 5 James Court, and I have, 3 children in the Avon School District. I have one here who's a sophomore. Did I mess it up?
Good catch.
Thanks so much. That's perfect. Thank you. And I have another who is a 6th grader at Thompson Brook, and my youngest is a 2nd grader at PGS. So I'm a physician here practicing in Wallingford. My husband is an endodontist who practices in West Hartford. I currently serve as the room parent for my 2nd grader, and over the years I have led Relay for Life teams, and I have taught their classes about banking, government, and local community function through the Junior Achievement Program. My husband has been a youth hockey coach for the past 10 years, and he has taught for the Avon program when our children were younger. I share this to illustrate that we are deeply engaged members of this community. I grew up in New Jersey in the 1980s and 90s in a town similar to Avon, and I considered us very lucky that we celebrated not only Christian holidays, but also Jewish holidays. At the time, I accepted that Hindu, Muslim, and other religious holidays were not observed because those groups were seen as small minorities. Looking back, however, we were a significant minority, just as my children are today. My family and many others in Avon are part of the fabric of this community. We contribute, we participate, and we care deeply about our schools and our town. Our most important religious holidays deserve to be recognized, respected, and understood by our teachers, friends, neighbors, and community members. Our children should not have to choose between celebrating an important holiday and hockey games, school exams, or other school events. We are lucky that we live in a town that celebrates Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Diwali, and others, and we hope that Eid can be added to this list. We love Avon, and we are proud to live in a town that values diversity, inclusion, and kindness. Adding Eid to the school calendar would be a meaningful expression of those values and an important step toward ensuring that all students feel seen, respected, and included. And I won't belabor the point by listing the towns, but I have at least 10 towns in Connecticut that have already added Eid to their school calendars. I respectfully ask that the board consider our request.
30 seconds.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
you.
We have one more? Yes, okay.
I can do this, right?
Yes.
Good evening. I live in Avon, Arch Road, next to the horses. I'm a retired political science professor, which means I haven't worked in 69 years. I would appeal to the ladies and gentlemen of this council to seriously consider the arguments that were put forward by these very beautiful, wonderful young folks who made a very passionate statement concerning their sense of loss and exclusion. Some of you, sure, it's not the majority, but perhaps you think Muslims are outsiders with no real roots in this country. But I can remind you that 20%, by conservative estimate, of the slaves whose blood, sweat, and tears and free labor helped to build this country were Muslims. A quick example of that, I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Roots. When Alex Haley traced his roots and it was chronicled on national television, he ended up in a Muslim village in present-day Gambia, Jufare village. Islam has been here. Islam and Muslims have contributed to making this country what it is. Perhaps some of you, one or two, think that maybe if we accommodate the Muslims, then we're giving in to DEI. But the appeal that you've heard tonight is not based on equity, it's based on equality. And if you balk at equality, you balk at the very document that helped to give birth to this nation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The happiness of our community as Muslims, as is the case for our wider community, is the attainment of our equality with all of those communities whose holidays have been repeatedly mentioned tonight. Thank you for adding me to the docket. So, peace.
Thank you. That's everyone. Thank you very much. We have appreciated all of your comments over the past few meetings, and we do listen very closely. We will be discussing a little bit of it tonight, but the decision won't actually be made until we decide on the calendar around January, I believe, right? So thank you for giving us your input. We do appreciate that. Moving on, our student reps, we have Syra with us tonight if you want to speak to what's going on in the schools.
Sure. So Madison couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just going to do her section for the high school and for the middle school. So some things that are going on is at the high school, on Friday, December 12th, we're going to have Pajama Day for the kids, kind of supporting child cancer awareness, and they'll be accepting donations. As for what's going on with sports, on December 1st and 2nd, the girls' basketball tryouts will be held. Boys' basketball tryouts will be held shortly after. Something that's coming up soon is on November 20th, the cheerleading team is hosting a fundraiser and taking donations for a food drive. We are also hosting a turkey trot, and it's the final week to register. Conferences will be held next Monday and Tuesday, so there will be half days those days for the high school. And we also held a Veterans Day assembly, which I believe was held throughout all the schools. And now for the middle school, the band concert is next week, December 3rd, and break starts next Wednesday for both schools again. What's going on at Thompson Brook, and the update, it kind of shared about kind of electronic expectations and guides for parents. The Winding Trails field trip was rescheduled due to rain, I believe. And I mentioned last time about the events of Unity Week, and that kind of took place, and there was just again a focus on like uniqueness and inclusion. Something else that was held for the fifth graders was a conference at Aetna in Hartford, where the Connecticut State Treasurer kind of talked about business and banking, and kind of just, we had 45 fifth graders attend, and kind of just growing interest in finance and business. Something that was shared with parents is kind of more information about a new system called Safe Arrival. It's like the absence reporting system for parents, make it easier, and My Power Hub for any Power School information. Another thing that the PTO completed was, or that will be completed, is a like parent-child book club night on the 21st of November. And you can sign up, I believe, on Constella is the information they gave. And the social emotional learning curriculum is still kind of going on at this school. So the next unit, I believe the unit they just completed is about kind of bullying, and the next unit will be about goal setting and a growth mindset when it comes to school. And there's just more resources for parents and screen time. And yeah, the Veterans Day Assembly also went smoothly here. As for Roaring Brook School, the Halloween parade was held for the kindergartners. They came to the high school. And there was a fourth grade field trip to, I believe, the River Ridge Senior Center, and they plan on going twice more this year. there was a kindergarten field trip to the Avon Free Public Library, and I believe there is something, there's like a show that the second graders are putting on, the apple pie show. And on the kindergarten is also having a feast this Friday to kind of celebrate the holiday that is Thanksgiving. And the musical is also taking place at Roaring Brook, and the auditions have begun. I think the musical is going to set to take place in March. And as for Pine Grove, there was a portrait of the graduate activity that they went through. It was kind of collaborative challenge for the kids to work through, and it was very successful. So that's kind of like the demonstration of collaboration with their peers. It was like a secret mission of sorts. So it was very it was met with lots of success. And something else that will be taking place that the PTO is organizing is the Scholastic Book Fair, and that will take place, I believe, on the conference dates for Pine Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent job. A lot going on. All right, next we'll move on to our financial report with Ms. Russo.
Good evening. The Finance Committee did not meet this month, so there are no financials on the consent agenda tonight.
Thank you. Now our committee and liaison reports, curriculum and professional practices. Lynn, do you have anything?
No, just our next meeting, which is January 27th.
Excellent. Everybody heard January 27th is the next meeting. Thank you, Lynn. And finance, that would be me. As was stated by Ms. Russo, we did not meet this month, but our next meeting is December 9th. Negotiations, Suzanne? Thank you. Policy, Thage?
Yes, Deb, our next meeting will be on December 2nd.
Thank you. And Capital Region Education Council, Chris?
Yes, our first meeting will be tomorrow in Hartford. I'll be there.
Thank you very much. Next, for the board chair update, I do want to comment on how beautifully Veterans Day went again this year. It was just so well done. It's lovely, and the veterans enjoy it so much. I got to start with them at the middle school where they had a little breakfast, and then the students did a phenomenal job of playing them into the auditorium and watching just how the kids pay such close attention. They really seem to get something out of it, and I know that the veterans really appreciate giving back as well. I was able to travel to Pine Grove and witness that not only do we have our veterans that come, but we have parents who are currently serving or have served, and they come for the day, and they get to wave to their children in the audience, and it's very exciting for the children to wave back. So we moved through all 5 buildings. I know that Jeff was able to attend at the high school as well, and we end up at Thompson Brook and at Roaring Brook to finish out. So it's a beautiful job, and I'm very proud of the fact that we keep our schools open for that so that the students appreciate what the day means versus just sleeping in. So it's really nice. So thank you. You did a beautiful job again. I was able to attend with Dr. Carnamola the 80th anniversary of the VFW here in town. They had a gala last Friday evening, and they had Dr. Carnamola speak. So I'm sure she'll probably say something to it, but of course she performed beautifully. And the topic that was requested of her was to speak to the beautiful relationship that we have working with them. They're proud of that dynamic, and they wanted her to recognize it too. And of course, I was proud to be there and celebrate her at the same time. Other than that, Thanksgiving is next week. Please, everybody, eat to your heart's content. Make the most of it. Sleep in. Get as much rest as you can. We're getting there. We're getting through the year. So nice job. And I will stop there and throw it to Dr. Carnamola.
Thank you. Mr. Medic for the hiring report.
Good evening. This month brings a lighter report with just a few staffing updates to share. We have one certified new hire that we'd like to welcome to our district, Ms. Lynn Holzman, who's joined Avon Middle School as a long-term substitute special education teacher. We also have 2 resignations to report. First, Charles McCaw, a custodian who worked for us for a short time but had a very positive impact on our students and staff. And secondly, Jess Giannini, assistant superintendent, has submitted his resignation as he prepares to step into a superintendent position. I know we'll speak more about Jess and his contributions at our December meeting, but I do want to offer our early congratulations on his next chapter. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yes, we're not doing that tonight.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's been a long meeting in December.
Yeah.
We'll be quick. We'll be quick, Jess, but it'll be heartfelt.
We are taking
Anyways,
that.
I'm still not done. At this time, we are working to fill several remaining openings that we have across the district. At Avon High School, we're seeking a nutrition service worker and 3 para-educators. We're also hiring several seasonal coaches, including freshman baseball and assistant boys lacrosse. At Pine Grove, we're seeking a school nurse. We are also looking to fill a long-term substitute occupational therapist that provides service to students across several buildings. And as I say each month, we continue to add to our substitute pool for substitute custodians and substitute nurses. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we discussed in the previous meeting, I believe one of our AHS nurses retired, and so our Pine Grove nurse had asked for a transfer to the high school. So that's why we now are backfilling at Pine Grove. If you know anyone who wants to be a great school nurse, please reach out to them. It's one of the positions that's not always that easy to find. Also, no, Jess, we're going to say very little, and we're going to do it at the last possible moment of the last meeting. Roberto asked me earlier today, are we recognizing Jess tonight when his resignation was on? I was like, no. We're just going to keep moving it forward right now and pretending like it's not happening until we have to acknowledge it. A couple of things, but I want to start with the state assessment data, and really enrollment report. We are pretty steady. We picked up a few more students last month. One of the things that we've had a few residency issues that we've resolved. We've lost a handful of students for those reasons. We've had some folks move out of state. I think you can see the numbers are dipping at some of the schools in particular. We were just talking about this at a superintendent meeting I was at today, actually, that I think we are all seeing a very similar trend in the state, at least, which is the waves of students that are leaving and coming in. I think as we look to the younger students, we're seeing more, those grade levels are getting filled more quickly than some of where we would call the middle right now. And so every year that we are registering, we're seeing first, second grade pick up, and kindergarten has been up and down because I think in part of the legislation change between 4 and 5 years old, September 1st and so forth. But even though as you look through, the total number has dipped just below 3,000 at this point, when you look at who's coming up through the grade levels, you see it start to equalize out, and I think we're seeing that across the state. Can't fully predict that yet, but based on the birth rates and the housing sales and so on, that's what we are expecting to see, is still growth in the younger grade levels. We have a strategic plan update tonight. As we discussed at the beginning of the school year, we did not have the test results released from the state yet. At that point, they were still embargoed, and then we wanted to take the time to go through them, to start discussing them in district before we were bringing them to you. As you can see, we have our principals and assistant principals for the most part, and some other central office administrators with us here tonight to assist us in talking these through. And that said, though, I think we'd like to start just with some general overview, because we want to talk about where we are as a district as a whole in regards to the strategic plan, and then go down the path related to the data. I promise we won't be here all night doing that. It sounds like we will based on what I just said, but this is the most important part of the work, as you know, and so we just want to make sure that we are having a conversation, answering questions, and also for you as a board, preparing for a future retreat, which I think we will once again wait to have until we have our 2 newer board members with us. Sorry, Ramesh and Jeff, but as you know, we're saying goodbye to you soon. That's another thing we'll do at the December meeting, but I think it was important that we pause on planning again for the next years to come until we have the board that will be with us again for at least another couple of years. That said, though, hooray, you get to see the last strategic plan update tonight, Ramesh and Jeff. And in advance, I want to thank the 2 of you for what you've done alongside of the board to bring us to where we are tonight. Jess?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. The update for tonight really focuses on ELA, mathematics, and science, because that's the 3 major tested areas that we're going to be sharing some results with you this evening. So just know that this is a piece of the puzzle of the large amount of work that our staff and our administrators are leading every day in our buildings throughout the year. The first 3 slides speak to kind of a recap of last year. It's a trip down memory lane, if you will, beginning with ELA. And there's definitely some repetition in here, some things you're familiar with. But just for context, both for a review this evening, but for anyone who may be tuning in from home. Beginning with ELA, our district researched and selected a new K-4 literacy program. That was taking place last year, heavy lift on behalf of the team. We provided job-embedded professional learning to staff and partnered with an outside consultant to design a year-long implementation plan. Across grade levels, curriculum specialists and department coordinators led collaborative learning sessions, all focused on like data-driven decision-making. So what's the data telling us, and what's the next steps for our teachers to take for their students in the classroom? Next slide. Taking us on to mathematics, you may remember we launched a new K-5 mathematics program, Think, in grades 1 through 5 and developing roots in kindergarten. Our 5th through 8th grade mathematics teachers completed a year-long professional learning plan and also revised our mathematics pathways in grades 7 and 8. So we brought back 7th and 8th grade mathematics and continued to offer pre-algebra and algebra for our middle school students. And finally, we selected a high school level professional learning series called Math Studio. We launched that in September, and actually this week is the second in that series of professional learning series for our high school mathematics teachers. And finally, moving on to science, there was a lot of stage 2 and stage 3 work that took place by our science team. That was led in part by Mark Suma, our AMS assistant principal, and John Salirny, our science department chair at the high school. They revised numerous stage 2 and stage 3 experiences in the area of engineering, chemistry, and earth and life sciences. So now as that was the work that took place. As we start to move into what our assessment results told us, we like to begin with an internal measure, and some of you on the board have seen this before, which is our universal screening tool, the Ames Web Plus assessment, which is administered to all students in grades kindergarten through 8. And that's that first set of data. You'll see it speaks to math and reading. There isn't a science version of this. And it's administered 3 times a year in the fall, the winter, and the spring. What we always highlight is that last column you see there in yellow, which is a combination of students who scored at the average level, meaning they met the expectations, above average, and then the well above average, because it really gives us a culmination of all the students who are meeting the benchmark for these assessments. And again, this year you'll see that our students, both in reading and mathematics, we continued to see upwards of 80–90% of our students meeting those expectations on the Ames Web assessment. Continuing on to the state assessment results, the SBA, or the Smarter Balanced Assessment. You'll first see some scores. This assessment is administered each spring to all students in ELA and mathematics. The first slide here illustrates how our students in Avon did compared to state averages. So that column in the middle is if you take all students in the state of Connecticut, took their progress, averaged it out, you'll see that column in the middle, and then highlighted again in yellow is how our Avon students did compared to the state average. And the next slide. This is an interesting, the next 2 slides are interesting. They show cohort data. So we know that when we look at data, it's a snapshot of a moment in time. In any one year, a certain group of students will perform in a certain way, and we certainly analyze and look at that data. But what you see here, the shaded kind of diagonal and then the light shaded diagonal shows you across years. So if we start up in 2022 with our third graders in ELA, we see that first score, and then if we continue to follow that diagonally across, we'll see how they're performing over time. This data can be even more meaningful to us because it shows how our students are progressing as they move through the grades. When they take that first assessment in third grade, we have a sense of how they might do, but it also informs the work that needs to take place in the coming years with that cohort of students. Generally speaking, we've been saying a lighthouse moment this year as we're looking for those small wins day in and day out, is that cohort data over time shows us that our students either continue to do well in that group or make progress over multiple years of experience with us. And what you'll also see if you keep an eye out, by the time our students reach middle school, they continue to reach a much higher level of the total number of students meeting the state benchmark for the SBA, the NGSS, and then eventually the SAT assessment. So this first slide is ELA, and then the next slide will also show that cohort data in the area of mathematics. These next two slides, every year we're asked how Avon is doing as we look across the Farmington Valley. So you see our closest neighbors there in Canton, Farmington, Granby, and Simsbury. And then again, you'll see the state average and you'll see the Avon average across the valley. And this first slide is for ELA. It's kind of a lot to all fit onto one slide, so we sparse that out for English Language Arts first. And then you'll see the next slide for mathematics. Moving on to the NGSS. So this is the science assessment. This is given to students in grades 5, 8, and 11. So unlike the SBA, which is given every year in ELA and mathematics, NGSS is given at certain touch points across their experience with us. And that first slide in the series will again show you how Avon students did compared to the state average. And the next slide will show you how Avon did in comparison to our closest neighbors in the Farmington Valley. Just want to make note, the cohort data is a little trickier with the NGSS because you're not necessarily looking at it year to year. There's some gaps in there when they move from, fifth grade to middle school to high school. So it's not as clean, which is why we didn't include it. But we still see our students, again, if we're following that trend as they move up, from elementary school to middle school and high school, a higher percentage of students continue to meet those state level benchmarks. And moving on. And finally, the Connecticut School Day SAT, a little different for many of us who may have taken the SAT on a Saturday in some far off place. I think I had to drive to Willimantic to take the SATs when I was in high school. Now most students take it during the school day. They do that in grade 11, and the first slide will show you how Avon students compared to the state average. And then the next slide will show you our scores as they compare to the Farmington Valley. And again, just another illustration of how as time goes on and our students progress through the grades, a higher and higher percentage of the students tend to make the mark. Moving right along. So one of the things, our team uses data in many different ways, and of course, this is one piece of the puzzle. But once we step back and really examine how our students are doing, we try to formulate a few takeaways, right, or some big questions that are going to drive the work. And while these always lead us down a certain path, some big questions for us as we looked at our data this year is which of our local assessments are really the best indicators of our students' success on state assessments. So we know we look at the Ames Web as one piece, but we also want to look internally on those curriculum assessments that our teachers are giving on a regular basis, and which of those are really informing, future success for our students on these assessments. And then the last piece, really a question we have, and we revised this a little bit this year, we've talked more about how we've kind of acknowledged the fact that Avon hasn't been test score obsessed, I guess you could say. We believe we have a strong curriculum. Our students do, incredible things here in our district, and I know often we're recognizing them here at the board for their accomplishments, but we haven't really done a great deal of specific test prep. And actually, when the SBA was designed and came out, that was really one of the reasons why we shifted from the traditional CMT approach, where we used to get really granular data back about how our students were performing, to the SBA, which really gives us this broad view of how students are doing in larger areas. And so sticking with that theme, at least initially, we've kind of embraced it, but as time has gone on, we've gotten more and more curious about looking for ways to make sure that when our students are taking those assessments, it's really mirroring the incredible work we know they're doing in our classrooms every day and on our internal assessments. And so what you see there is, we were careful to say we want to embed test prep as part of the experience and not make it feel like it's drill and kill. And for, the administrators in the audience or our colleagues who have students in other districts who have like nightly SBA homework and are rolling their eyes and groaning every night when they're doing that, where we want to do just the right amount of that, but not also make it feel like our students, like that's the only thing that's driving us. So it's really a question for us as how to find the right fit with those experiences each day in our classroom. So I'll pause there for a moment. I know in just a minute we're going to move on to our administrators, but just in case there's any questions.
Is your mic on, Suzanne?
Going back to the slides you had there, I guess I'm just wondering what percentage level 3 or higher. I'm not sure everyone would know what that meant. And specifically, when I look at SAT scores, those numbers don't match what I know to be SAT scores. So what do they mean?
So let's go back to the SAT slide, if we could, Elizabeth. And Jody, maybe you could help us out with a better explanation of the SAT scores.
They're not actually the scores, they're the number, the percent of students who are at or above the state level proficiency. So that's a percent.
Okay.
So basically, when the state takes the SAT scores, which are run from like a 600 something to like the 800.
Yeah, that's right.
450 to 800. They take that scale and they break it into the 4 achievement levels as they report out for Smarter Balance and NGSS. And so that's what's being reported there. So when you look at those scores, where the cutoff is for a level 3 and above, 85% of our students in ELA and 62% in math are at a level 3 or above.
Okay.
But that's not the actual score.
Right, okay. Thanks.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Will we get this whole slideshow? Was the whole thing in it? I only saw the first couple of slides. I guess it didn't open on mine. As I was looking at this, it seems like the students are doing really well on AIMSweb, which is great, but there's a disconnect with the SBAC. And from what I was looking at, the majority of the grades, maybe with the exception of 8th grade science and maybe other levels, we seem to be doing lower than neighboring towns. I am not advocating for, drill and kill. I don't think that that's the way to do education, but there seems to be a disconnect that is concerning.
Yeah, so you brought up science, which is an excellent example. If you look specifically at our scores in that area, the science team really served as a great model for the work we're trying to copy, if you will, in ELA and mathematics. When they dug into some of their stage 2 and stage 3 work this past year, they were finding ways to embed that prep, if you will, by revising some of the projects and assignments and the way we ask students questions so that it didn't feel like test prep, but throughout the year we were doing a better job, if you will, of getting them ready. A lot of it is how a question might be posed, the way you enter data into an online, testing platform. And so we're trying to emulate that in reading and mathematics, because you're right, the Ames web doesn't always give us a perfect indicator of how our students, we want to tighten up our curriculum assessments to be a better indicator in that regard.
Kaylin?
Hi, I'm wondering about interventions, and are there interventions in use, or could there be interventions in use for the kids who are just missing level 3?
Lynn?
I worry that we might be missing kids.
Hi, Lynn. Can you hear me? It's Bridget.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Can you hear me, Lynn? Can you, Elizabeth, can you tell her that when we pivot to the rest of it, we'll be addressing that question? Thank you.
But I would also say to Lynn's question that, interestingly enough, what the Ames web data helps us to pinpoint is, are there students who are struggling with certain concepts that may require intervention? And so, but that doesn't necessarily give us the greatest indicator of how they'll perform on the SBA. So it's a good indicator of a need for remediation and intervention, but that's that missing piece at times of, like, now we need it to equate to SBA and NGSS scores.
We pivot, but as I said previously, you hear a lot from us about the work that we're doing throughout the district and even sometimes in the individual schools, but wanted to make sure that our folks that are leading the work on the ground in the buildings were able to speak to what they're doing in the buildings also, which is why we have them here tonight. I should say up front, you might see and hear some repetitive information as they share what they're doing, but that's actually a good thing, because that is indicative of the fact that we have been working hard together as a district to ensure some coherence in how we're moving forward, the strategies that we're using, the data that we're looking at, the curriculum, the assessments, all of that comes into play when we start talking about what we're doing across the district. You'll hear some of that more than once out here. But on the flip side, there's also unique strategies and instructional moves that people take and so forth in every single building. So I think it's important to have them speak to that. I'll tell you up front also that both of our Pine Grove administrators had family commitments tonight and could not be here to do Pine Grove, so we are going to take care of that. But I think we're ready.
Yeah, we're going to begin with Roaring Brook, and you're right, Dr. Carnemola, and you'll notice that we decided to have Noam go first for Roaring Brook because there is a lot of similarities. Our K-4 schools work very closely together, so once he's finished, I'll speak to Pine Grove, but again, there's a lot of overlap.
So, good evening, thank you. And I think the theme really is that idea of alignment across the buildings. And so you will hear a set of recurring themes. And I think that this is really a good news story. I've stood up here for a lot of years, actually, talking to you guys about this. And very proud of where Avon Public Schools are and where Roaring Brook School is. And so in terms of what we were thinking about and reflecting on about how do we move teaching and learning forward, that's our core function. The first thing is, like, how are we elevating instruction for all students? And so over the last 2 school years, we have, in effect, changed about 70% of our school day because we have a whole new ELA program and a whole new math program. And we're really pleased with those things because what we're doing is we're ensuring rigorous instruction for all of our kids, a guaranteed foundational learning experience for all of our learners that all of our teachers can access, and that means, therefore, that all of our kids can access. And our kids are involved in some experiences that are so much more conceptual. They're deeper, they're richer. And when we think about, to Nicole's question, the difference between AIMSWeb, which is just baseline foundational skills, versus deeper learning, which is what SBA is pushing us towards, the new curriculum that we have in math and ELA is absolutely pushing us in that direction. We're really pleased with what we see across our building at the K-4 level, and then you'll hear from my colleagues talking along the same lines, which is really exciting. So that's the first part of the equation. The next part is that idea of embracing data and making sure that we have everybody comfortable with it. So we started at RBS this year looking at last year's spring data. We reviewed everything to set goals, including some really tangible numerical targets across the grade level. And then this fall, now that we have the fall universal assessments, we're at a place where we've had a school-wide data team. We went through these pieces of information with our grade level teams and then our individual teachers. And that is affording us that opportunity to plan for kids as needed. It is giving, I think it was Lynn's question, to look at students who are really right on that cusp of being able to move into the next kind of zone of performance. And it's allowing us to make informed decisions about how to support them. So you see the next part of that is inclusive interventions. And so that is answering that question of how do we give our students a little bit of extra boost if it's needed and appropriate to do so. So at RBS this year, we worked together with our teams at the start of the school year for a pretty intensive collaborative review and redesign of our intervention block, that time that we have built into our schedule every day for all of our students, where there's not new instruction going on, but it's instead an opportunity to either enrich or provide remediation and supports for our kids. So our teams are involved in things like rotating students through stations in a way that is either independent for students ready for it, or it's giving time, space, and place for our teachers to provide more small group work or individual group work. All of our buildings have awesome intervention teams, and the intervention teams are supporting students in classrooms as appropriate in Tier 1, or in pull-out supports based upon data, based upon observations, based upon teacher recommendations, based upon principal recommendations. And we're doing a really nice job in terms of providing those supports. We also have access in the 3rd and 4th grade classrooms to IABs, which is the interim assessments that look a lot like the SBA assessments, and that is in a very planful and intentional way, giving us a chance and opportunity to have our kids have exposure to both the format of the test, because especially if you think about our 3rd graders, they'd never seen anything like this before, and so this is giving them that chance to familiarize themselves with what the format is, testing conditions, and then of course the content. And then this is all hands on deck, and so that's why I write all in the family. So we're using our curriculum specialists. We are integrating even individuals like a pupil services team to provide social emotional supports to help our kids better access their learning. Are they available for the new learning that's going on? So we're utilizing them in planful ways. We even are spending some time with our unified arts teachers to give them tools, inclusive of things like language, formatting of questions, looking at how do we have our kids listen to directions, right? A basic skill like that, but it's those kinds of things that collectively we do believe are going to benefit all of our students. Any questions? Yeah.
The IABs, is that something that's new?
It's not new. It's something we've had access to for the past several years, but we did find that our teachers who were really utilizing it as a planned kind of a way to provide supports for kids were doing really well in terms of the standardized assessments. So what we've done is we've worked together with our curriculum specialists to have an actual way of saying that in December we're going through these kinds of assessments, in January, et cetera. So in a planful way, so that's a universal experience for all of our students.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody? Sarah or Lynn? No?
All right.
Okay, thank you, Noam.
Well, I'm going to speak to Pine Grove, but we'll have Mel start making her way up, because I'll try to keep the Pine Grove update brief, because as mentioned, a lot of the work, Noam and Liz and Amy and Jess work really closely together, and so many of the pieces that Noam spoke to are similar for Pine Grove School. They're certainly implementing the new reading and math program, which, as Mr. Sturm mentioned, has been a heavy lift for our elementary teachers. They're working to implement a test-taking unit, so kind of that idea, of embedding prep without making it feel like prep. But the interesting idea of test taking as a genre, right? We read different genres in literature, but you also have to be, you have to develop that skill to be a good test taker as time goes on, and how can we prepare them for that and realize that sometimes it's a little different than when you sit down and do reading for enjoyment. They've got their school and grade level data teams monitoring student progress, and I think Noam spoke and Lynn had asked about really making sure that students who are requiring additional supports are being provided those services. And again, lastly, but not least, and I don't think we can stress this enough, the collective staff in our buildings are really owning this work. We mentioned, all hands on deck, I think it was, but that even, our unified arts teachers looking at ways that they can own some of those grade level standards within their art and their music and their wellness curriculum, collectively interested in really just pushing the envelope and getting our students kind of over that threshold. And again, as many students as possible meeting those grade level expectations on the assessment.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Melissa Morgan Hostetler, principal at Thompson Brook, proud principal at Thompson Brook School. So some ways that Thompson Brook is looking to push student growth, to fill gaps, and I've sort of separated my slides into what we're doing and then how we're going about doing that. So just really briefly, and it is a bit repetitive, but we too are looking to target skill remediation through high-frequency progress monitoring, using tools like AimsWeb, for example, to ensure that we're not waiting until the unit assessment is over, but we're using those progress monitoring tools to catch needs in the moment so that we can react quickly and support those students who need it. We have a new math intervention program called Bridges, which much more closely aligns with our new math program that we're in year 2 with in 5th grade, and one class is piloting in 6th grade. And that really emphasizes the conceptual understanding of math versus like the rote memorization or execution of algorithms. We also are doing our instructional rounds with teachers, and we're really focusing on how teachers can differentiate for students, both in their classrooms, but also during our TI block, our targeted instruction block, so that we are addressing student need, again, with immediacy and it's timely. We too are focusing on a cross-curricular connection so that our science teachers are using more math and literacy in their units and lessons, and our unified arts teachers are also embedding literacy skills more so in those various content areas, and they just engaged in some really strong professional development around that. All of our teachers, our special ed teachers and our regular ed teachers, just underwent IEP quality training to build their capacity for writing ambitious IEP goals. And some of the ways that we're doing all of this is through our new model. I had spoken to you, I guess a couple of months ago now, about how Thompson Brook looks a little bit more like a natural sort of step-up progression where our 5th grade students are changing classes. So we have our students see one teacher for math, science, and social studies and the other teacher for their ELA block. And we are using this as a way to really improve our students' executive functioning so that they're getting their toes wet a bit in 5th grade. The new model also allows for our 5th grade teachers to become a bit more specialized in their content area with that departmentalization. We're using a consistent system for all of our students in the school for organization, again, with the hope to really boost their executive functioning. It's called our Base Binder, Building Academic Skills Every Day, and every teacher and every student uses this system. Our new schedule allows for a lot of high-impact collaboration, so our teachers are meeting weekly. They're meeting with the teachers with whom they share students, and then again during the week, they're meeting with teachers with whom they share content. So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck so that they can co-plan and support students. We've held professional development focused on that progress monitoring and making instructional adjustments based on data. We are conducting building level data reviews, as are all the buildings after each marking term, expanding our use of those interim assessment blocks as well. A focused increased rigor on and grade level consistency in both science and social studies, revamping some of those units. Of course, our new math program that I alluded to before, and then really working to boost family engagement with a partnership, inviting parents in. For example, we have a math night coming up on December 3rd that we're really excited about, to just teach all about what this new math thinking is all about. Some people feel like it's a little bit weird. It's not how they were raised, not how they learned math. So we really want to shed some light on how families can best support children as they learn mathematical concepts. Thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much, Mel.
Good evening. Hi. So I am here to speak with you about Avon Middle School and the work that we are doing in regards to student achievement and outcomes, knowing that teaching and learning is, in addition to safety, the highest level of responsibility that we have to you and your children each and every day. So some of the work, to echo some of my colleagues, which again is a testament to the work that we've been doing to calibrate across levels to make sure that we are working together, rowing in the same direction, if you will, to prepare our students. Analyzing opening of the year data review through both our interdisciplinary teams. We have a team model at the middle school and our departments, so that the teachers are welcoming kids in and they have a clear picture of their achievement levels, where they're coming in, where their strengths are, where there are some areas to kind of push them a little bit further. From there, using our fall universal screening data, Ames Web Plus, through both the interdisciplinary teams. You'll see CLTs up there. We love our acronyms. And education collaborative learning teams, our affectionate term for data teams. And so we do the full building analysis with different stakeholders around the table as a building CLT. We call it our Counseling Plus meeting. Credit Mark with being the brainchild of that, and the structures that we use to bring in a lot of different perspectives and look at student achievement in a lot of different ways, and look for trends and patterns at a higher level, and then more at a granular level, student by student. Leveraging our SAT, student assistance team, and SRBI, scientific research-based interventions processes, to either intervene at the tier 1, 2, or 3 level based on those universal screening data and the data that kids are coming in with at the start of the year. Continuing to strengthen, this is an ever-evolving continuous improvement effort in education, strengthening and identifying our tier 1 instructional and intervention practices across different disciplines. And then I speak to, we have up there the work that our science team has done departmentally as a vertical group to identify some areas of growth within our curriculum, and also within student performance, as Jess spoke to, that 3-year test window between 5th and 8th grade, and looking at where some of those gaps might be, and spiraling in retaught or previously taught skills, if you will, because they all interconnect in the end. Moving on to Smarter Balance, you heard my colleagues speak about interim assessment blocks, cross-curricular connections, and that whole building buy-in. At our opening faculty meeting of the year this year, I posed the question to our staff, what percentage of our students should be demonstrating proficiency on state assessments? The answer is 100%, right? That's the goal. You shoot for the moon, and that is the ultimate goal. 100% of students growing and achieving each year. And that was kind of the framework that we used for that full faculty buy-in, continued buy-in, if you will, around we all support literacy, we all support numeracy, we all support cross-cutting concepts and engineering principles, regardless of the classroom that a child is entering. So with that, our faculty was very excited. They took a practice SBA test under the same testing conditions that students would. We did let them use their laptops. We didn't have them use Chromebooks. But it was our teachers have done them before, but to do it as a collective experience and really put yourself in the shoes of the students to the best of your ability in that moment during an after-school faculty meeting, really but refreshed the eyes on what we are asking students to do in the platform in which they're doing it, right? And so there's this push and pull with screen time, and ultimately the measure that we have students assessed on in terms of state level proficiency. We were asking them to read and make sense of information on a digital screen. And I'm sure if I polled the audience, most of us in the crowd, when we really need to make sense of something, we probably print it and read it through. And so how do we make and identify some small moves with our students in our classes day by day to grow their capacity to be able to comprehend from a digital device as opposed to a more traditional textbook or pleasure reading book, if you will. In addition to that, again, similar to my colleagues, our students, our world language team is really embracing the listening strand. It's one of the ELA strands that has been an area of growth for us, so they're looking to embed some of that intentional work in world language, and they will administer the listening IAB to help students to make those cross-curricular connections around literacy and numeracy. And finally, an intentional culture of reflection and continuous improvement. For those of us throughout the education world, we know there's a lot of competing interests and efforts that our work, our work as leaders is to help our folks bring all of those pieces together and ultimately make sure that students stay at the forefront of what we're doing. So being intentional about our focus of instructional rounds, high quality task design, which gets at the curricular connection, facilitator moves, the art and the science of teaching, and making sure that everything that we do is connected back to hitting that 100% of our students are going to make growth and achieve each and every year. Questions for me?
Excellent job.
Wait time appropriate? Okay.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, Dr. Lockhart.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to be quick because I know we have some new business to get to tonight. We have to get the answer to the question all the seniors are asking me every single day. When's graduation? Yeah. I want to be able to give them an answer tomorrow. So I'm going to move really fast through this because a lot of what I'm talking about has already been said tonight. So we are fortunate to be kind of in year 2 of some of the work that we're doing, which started with us getting prepared for our NEASC visit, which went well. Thank you to those of you that came for that. So we've just been continuing, really aligning all of the work that we're doing to, of course, our portrait of a graduate, but to also ensuring that all of our students are really having access to rigorous coursework at a high level every single day. So we've been focusing a lot on Tier 1 practices, and for those of you that have students in our school right now, they'll tell you that every day they're up and moving around at vertical whiteboards and in random groupings, right? Yeah, you love it, don't you? All the time, yeah. So focusing on some of those Tier 1 practices and, of course, strengthening our Tier 2 supports as you've heard from all the other schools. So really the goal of that is for us to just continue to improve in our NGSS scores and our SAT scores because we want to be the best. We want to, every time we come here, be blowing other schools out of the water. So what we're asking our students, our teachers to do this year, we've asked them to do last year as well, is to continue to provide collaborative opportunities for students every single day across every single unit. Sometimes that can be a little bit challenging, but we want them to just continue to work on that. We want them to spend time in their CLTs really planning those lessons together, analyzing student work, taking a look at some areas that they can strengthen, some of their instructional practices. We want them to be innovative. We want them to be creative, to try new things. We want to be at the cutting edge, and we want to continue to engage students in classes every single day. And of course, we have been asking teachers to participate in peer observations along with our formal instructional rounds so we can see, is it working? Are we doing what we need to do? And from last year to this year, we can say that we have seen some growth. It is working, so we're going to continue to do it. Because of the work that was done with our science teachers, we saw significant gains in our NGSS scores, as well as some increases in our SAT scores, so we're going to continue to do that. We also have been polling the students along the way to see how they're liking the collaborative work and our focus on critical thinking. And we really have seen and heard from them that they do feel more comfortable in the classrooms taking those academic risks. They're more comfortable learning from each other. They're doing new and innovative things that just keep them more engaged and energized in the classroom. And it's really improving the skills that they need to be able to do well on our assessments. So I hope that was quick enough. Any questions?
Nicely done. Anybody?
I said one.
Go ahead, Chris.
I know it was said at, not for you, but it was said at
Thank you, Dr.
Thompson Brook for the math night for the parents. Is that scheduled at any other schools?
Not at this time, but I know several schools have thought about offering something. We have, last year, we're going to do it again, make our teaching and learning team available on the night of parent-teacher conferences, just to be out answering questions about the new reading program, but also following up with families about year 2 of the math.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Nicole.
We've heard discussions about interventions, and the goal is to get everyone at 100%, which I totally agree. What about the students who already are at or above grade level? What are we doing to make sure that they're also growing?
Sure, great question. That we speak often about, that's part of our experience here in Avon, that our teachers are responsible every day for differentiating instruction in the classroom, really working, and that becomes a case-by-case basis with each student, that they're going through those same assessments, teachers are looking at that same data, and really looking at ways that they can push the curriculum further for those students. We can go down a laundry list of specific examples, but that's the general theme that our teachers are responsible for and speak to our parents about when they're achieving at a high level. Can I add one more thought in here? And I just want to, because we're talking a lot about scores, and one of the pieces that our admin team has looked really closely at is how close are students who are just missing the mark? Because that can make a big difference, right? And just to give you a sense, and I won't go through every number, but we pulled this information prior to this evening. So if we look at our students in math, let's say, and so if about 20 students, ballpark is 10% of students, and we looked at students who were scoring at a 2, right? So they're not meeting the expectation. And if we look 3rd through 8th grade, the number of students who we're considering statistically close to missing the mark. So they're in that top quartile, and they're missing, what we don't have an exact number, but we're guessing a few questions here or there, and they're at a level 3, and we're thinking of this a lot differently. So just to give you some numbers, running from 3rd to 8th, 24 students, 40 students, 35 students, 33 students, 34 students, and 23 students. And we can share this information with you, but that's pretty significant. That's just in the area of mathematics. Percentage-wise, of the group of total number 2 students, that's ranging from 70% at the low mark to 80% at the high mark. So we have a lot of students who are falling in that 2 and are just missing that mark. And so why we continue to explore the little shifts we can make in our curriculum, the extra IAB we can give, the little bit of test prep without it feeling like overkill, is because we know the data in our district in particular is telling us that we have numerous students who are really close to just turning that corner and our data looking a lot different.
Any other questions? We appreciate the heart and the effort and the intention behind all of this work. It shows, and I know our kids enjoy going to school, so that matters too. They look forward to learning, so thank you for being so committed to it. Okay, Lynn?
I'm not sure it's a question. I love that all the schools are asking teachers and staff to take the test. I think if on our retreat, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but if we had
I know where this is going.
take that test, I think it would be so eye-opening, because it is not typical, not what we were
I think it's a great idea. Do it at a retreat.
Ramesh thinks it's a great idea.
Good.
too.
Ramesh and I, great idea, I think.
Thanks, Lynn.
Enjoy.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you for coming out and working with us tonight. We appreciate it. Just a point of clarification on the SATs. I think what you were asking was the range of scores in each section. It's 200 to 800 for English and math. And it's hard to pinpoint, and I was just looking at it again tonight, trying to see if they had done anything differently when they put the data out this year, because obviously we've looked at it quite a bit before we're here tonight, but they continue to put information on Connecticut Ed site as they, at the state level, continue to disaggregate data. Short version of the story is, it's very difficult to get a range from the state of what constitutes proficiency, so a level 3 or a level 4, because there are other aspects wrapped up in it besides just the SAT scores. It's a college and career readiness score, and basically they don't publish exactly what the score is. There's a range that we know to have in mind, and part of that is based on national average, number one, and number two, by other states who utilize SAT scores for 11th grade, like an SAT day, like Connecticut does, to decide what constitutes proficiency at the high school level on a standardized test like SAT. So an example, Colorado is another state that does that. I think Illinois may be another state. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. But there's a range, and it's a big range, and it depends on year to year. Generally speaking, I think when you look at ELA, it's actually the ERW part of the test is what it's called specifically, but you would see a range of, say, 540 to 630 being proficient. Those aren't low SAT scores on that section. In math, you'd be looking over 500, maybe 540 to 660, and it varies year to year. So you're talking about, if you are, generally speaking, because it's not a one-to-one conversion, you are talking about students being considered proficient in English and math if they are somewhere above 400 on each section. That's not, that if you only were 400 in English and math, you'd be at an 800. And we're obviously, the goal is, generally speaking, for colleges, when they're still taking SAT scores, they at least want to see students over 1,000. That is a good place for us to look when we think about proficiency. And you see the majority of our kids are getting there. This year, there's no ranking yet on just SAT scores for the entire state. We can do it, but you have to do it district by district for 169 towns, some with more than one high school and so forth. So it's not that easy to do. As you know, last year, you might remember for 2023, when all was said and done, Avon High School was ranked 5th in the state for SAT scores. It was the only high school outside of Fairfield County that was in the top 5. The other 4 were Darien, New Canaan, Wilton, I believe, and someone else I can't remember, maybe Westport. So, Stephanie, I know that is a long way around to talk about the same thing that you were, but I think it's important to note that while we have different cutoffs when we're looking at Smarter Balanced, SAT is just harder to explain in the same way because they don't give us the data in that way. Okay, so moving on.
Thank you.
And did we have anyone? Yes, okay, we have a couple of people that remained that want to hear us talk a little bit about Eid and when that might be on the calendar. So thank you for sticking around. It's a long night. I just wanted to start a conversation because we have heard from many from the Muslim community here in Avon about the addition of the Eid holidays, and as we talked about previously, and you've heard from numerous individuals who have stood up to speak, there really are 2 holidays that would be considered the Eid holidays. One is Eid al-Fitr, and the other is al-Adha. And I think I told you this last time, it's not necessarily a differentiation between one being more important or holy than the other. They're both 2 of the most important and holy observances in Islam. That said, when you look at other school calendars, many times you only see Eid al-Fitr. And the reason for that is twofold. The main one is because as more and more groups lobbied for it, that was in some cases just the only one that was given and the first one that was given. But there's actually a more practical reason why that is, and it's because for many years since they've started being integrated into Connecticut district calendars, one or the other has very often not fallen during the school year because of the way they change from year to year. I believe Eid al-Adha has less frequently in the past, say, 5 years falling during the school year. So that said, the Farmington Valley Area Muslim Center had sent us, they've sent it numerous times in the past couple of years, what those holidays look like out even 10 years from now. So, it's not an issue of not knowing when they are. We do know when they are. They're already well known in advance. Some years they have more, if the calendar is changed to include them, some years they will have more of a quote, impact. What do I mean by impact? If you add 2 more days off into the school year, what happens? You're there 2 more days in June, basically, similar to snow days. If it snows, we have to make that day up. So we're doing 180 days minimum by state law, no matter what. And that's for students, that's what we have on our calendar. If we didn't, like some of the private schools, every time it snowed, we'd just go hooray, and it was, one last day of school, and they still had graduation on the same day. Luckily, when we get to graduation tonight, that's actually what we are now able to do also, is at least schedule graduation by state statute. That changed maybe 5 years ago, as you know, which has been extremely helpful for school districts to be able to schedule it on the I'll get there when I get there. But anyway, you would push the date forward if both dates fall within the school calendar and not on a weekend, for example. So when you look ahead to the 26, 27 calendar, and didn't want to hand this out because they're not, I know how a calendar goes once it's out in public, right? And because once it's on, meaning people won't necessarily know that a change got made, and they'll do a web search and something will come up from tonight, and 6 months from now people will think that was the calendar and we'll have a different problem. We don't like to publicize it until it has been through the board, approved by the board, and it is final and is up online. And then even then, as you know, we have to keep going back in and making the changes with the snow dates, and it can still cause confusion. So it's the reason it's not up there on the screen and so forth. I'm looking at a draft of it in front of me. We would, in the 26-27 year, if you were to put Eid into the calendar, only Eid al-Fitr would fall during the school year, and it would be March 9th. And the last day of school, pretending there's no snow days, would be June 9th. Still pretty much in line with where we fall. One of the other things to remember is every year is going to look different, even with the other holidays, right? So, for example, Yom Kippur might not fall on a school day. It might fall on a weekend, or otherwise a day that we were off. Diwali may not fall on a school day. So they're going to fluctuate every year. There, of course, will be years where every single one of the holidays will fall during the school year. I can't tell you exactly right now when that will be. We didn't draw it out that far. But I can tell you that in the next, if you were to do that, in the next couple of years, they kind of even out by what's not in the calendar versus what is. Still, does that mean it's a day or possibly 2 later in June? Yes, it does. But I just thought you might want to know what they would look like as we were moving forward from year to year. I don't know if you have any questions about that.
Jeff does.
Jeff, go ahead.
I just got a simple one, and I'm always cautious talking about a faith that I don't follow. So as a non-practitioner, my question is, and maybe we need to speak to the community, my understanding is, and I think one of the comments tonight referenced it, the date of Eid is not set until much closer because it involves, I believe, the lunar cycle.
It does.
And I know, being in a district that does observe Eid, we have taken, the district I work in, which is not Avon, has declared those days on days when it actually didn't fall on the holiday. And so my question is when we vote on a calendar so far out, how do we then accommodate when it actually doesn't land on the day that the holiday is actually observed?
We do know what day it will be observed. As I said, they're in front of me through 32, 33. And yes, they are based on the lunar cycles, but moving that far out, you still can project it. But that said, you're only going to vote on a calendar 1 year in advance, and the dates that they will be celebrated are most certainly known then. I can tell, like as I just said, in the 26-27 year, Eid al-Fitr is Tuesday, March 9th, and Eid al-Adha is Sunday, May 16th, which is why it doesn't impact the school year calendar. In 27-28, Eid al-Fitr is Saturday. It won't impact the school calendar. And Eid al-Adha is Friday, May 5th. So,
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just
Yep.
was questioning the
No.
logistics of my understanding. But thank you.
And I know, Jeff, I'm glad you asked that question because I think I had heard there was another question too related to contract obligations. And this would not work differently than the other holidays or days off from school that we already observe when the entire district is not shut down. So for example, for some of the days off, the district is closed, which means the schools and no one is at work unless there's an emergency. Christmas Day is an example of that. Thanksgiving Day is an example of that. But other than that, Yom Kippur is an example. The schools are closed. It's being observed in the school year calendar, but the district itself is not closed. So if you are a 12-month employee who observes the Jewish holidays, for example, you are utilizing a personal day or a vacation day or in at work, and it depends on how people want to do that. This would function in the same way.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Ramesh.
I'm just curious, actually. Is there a floating holidays in the school year anytime before, or I've not seen anything for the last 2 years? I'm just curious, like.
Do we have any floating holidays?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
By contract, there are certain units that have floating holidays. Namely, the main reason for that is years ago when it was determined that we would stay open on Veterans Day, for example.
Okay.
That, as you know, is considered a state and a federal holiday. So that was a give, if you will, contractually, because our staff, neither 10 nor 12 month, have Veterans Day off. And so most union contracts gave a floating holiday. Again, this is before my time, but I know that's why it was done, a floating holiday to be used whenever.
Right. So my next question is like, so there are a lot of holidays which we don't know the exact dates, right? So now, is there an opportunity to give 1 or 2 floating days every year so that the students and staff can pick it up, those holidays based on the need, rather than be prescribing as a fixed holiday for the.
So I think the problem with the staff having a floating holiday is we don't want it to be utilized during the school year when students are in session, because then it'd be hard to control how many folks were coming to work to keep the schools open. So let's pretend the entire faculty group, for example, the 288 maybe we're at about right now. Something. We'll go with that right now. I haven't done the budget projections again, which is when we again look more closely at the exact numbers. If 100 of them decided that the Friday before Memorial Day weekend was the floating holiday, we'd have to close school.
Right.
So that's why the floating holidays, and hooray, we might be happy about that. The floating. We all know that by May we might be very happy about that. By March, we'd be happy about that. So the 12-month employees that are utilizing floating holidays, those are the ones that have it because they are here all year. Our teachers, for example, don't have a floating holiday in the contract for Veterans Day because it goes back to the same idea. They are working a standard number of days per year because they are in school with students 180 days, and they have professional learning and so on, another 6. So it's standardized in that way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Why we may not do that?
Yep, thank you.
But in place, we have like personal days or
Yes.
days that can be taken for
That's right.
religious holidays
That's right.
that are not.
And that's why we can get more down this rabbit hole when we're talking about it again. I just wanted to put some information out there, but it is part of the reason that the decision historically to add in days off from school or observances of religious or cultural holidays has most often been dependent on the staff celebrating it. So do we have a huge number of Muslim staff that would be, no, the answer is no. We don't have a large population of Muslim staff, and therefore, if every one of them currently takes off these holidays whenever they fall on a work day by utilizing a personal day, it doesn't really impact the operations of the school district. On the flip side, if we said, this is it, we're going to have school on Thanksgiving, there'd be a whole lot of people not here and utilizing personal days because the majority of people observe Thanksgiving. They're not exactly the same. One we're talking about a religious holiday, and the other we're talking about an American cultural holiday, but it gives you an example. So the reason you would consider it is not related to staffing. It's more related to what has been talked about. It's more about a recognition of the growing nature of the population of people of Muslim faith in Avon, and to be inclusive of that fact.
But at the same time, if we have a larger population of students who start taking that day off, that would impact the operations of the school as well, though.
Students?
You know what I'm saying? Like
It would have to be a lot, but yes.
But we have seen the demographic increase in the last several years.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It has been a growing population, yes. And that was when we talked about Diwali. It was the same idea that we were considering at that point.
All right. So we'll definitely take action in January.
Yes.
That's when we set the calendar for the next year, but it's a good conversation, and we appreciate the time that you've put into providing us with information.
And the reason, just so that you know, you've made it here this long, you might as well know this, that we don't set the calendar until later in the year is because there are other days that we have to make determinations about. Which days are we going to have off for professional learning, for example? We have ideas of that right now, but we like to get further along to know how things worked in one year, to be able to assess how has this gone and what changes might we make in the following year. And right now, it's still early for us to do that. That's the reason we don't set the calendar.
Thank you.
Won't belabor anything else, so you'll have to hear from me on the next piece anyway, quickly. I will just say, again, though, I want to thank everyone for the Veterans Day celebrations in the district. As everyone knows, I was not able to be here with you this year because I was managing some family issues related to a death of a close family member. However, as Deb said, Friday night, it was just a fantastic event, being with the veterans at their 80th anniversary gala. The Gildo T. Consolini VFW post here in Avon celebrated 80 years, and their keynote speaker, who I was fortunate enough to speak just before in the program, and I say fortunate enough because I'm honored that they thought to ask me to do that, was General George Casey. So it was pretty neat to be able to sit at a table with General George Casey and hear about his time in the Middle East, his time interacting with people from the White House and so forth. It was just a really nice night, and I think our veterans were properly honored. So just happy that I was able to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to consent calendar, we do have one item, and it's always quite impressive when crew comes forward with a donation. We are incredibly grateful to their efforts for doing so. It puts less of a burden on us. We support the program, so we appreciate that they are able to fundraise in this way. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as it stands?
So moved.
Thank you, Thage. Do I have a second? Thank you. I've got Nicole. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Yep, thank you. Moving on to new business. Oh, no, old business, I apologize. Possible approval of the primary instructional material. This was discussed at last meeting. We were in the 30-day window. Now the 30 days are up, and so we're taking action on moving the book to add it to our curriculum. Anything you wanted to say?
Nope, just that the window is now closed, and this would be added as a primary instructional material for our Latin AP course.
All right, any questions? Lynn, do you want to make the motion? Sorry.
Make a motion to primary instructional material as stated for the lab course.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ramesh. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much. Now we move on to new business. Possible action to set the graduation date for 2026. I think we're looking at June 11th. Is that correct?
This is one of the easiest decisions you'll ever make as the Board of Education. So, yes, we are looking at Wednesday, June 11th. As I've started to say earlier, a change in Connecticut state statute maybe 5 or 6 years ago. For all I know at this point, it's 10, and I've just lost track of time. But at some point, they made a change to the law, and we can now schedule graduations in advance as long as when we are scheduling that they are on the 181st day or later. So in other words, if it's a month from now and there have been 5 snow days in between, you can no longer schedule it on the same day, which is one of the reasons we do this early, because we are allowed to by law right now. We know when the 180th day is, and we have contacted the Bushnell, where we have been going the last few years, as you know. We know they have this date available. If there are snow days, what happens? It doesn't matter. If there are 10 more snow days, our seniors are still graduating on June 11th. There are pluses and minuses to that, of course, because if there were that many snow days, it will mess with our, yes?
Just to confirm, it's Thursday, June 11th.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. No, yeah. Don't panic. It's still June 11th. I just got the wrong day of the week. I'm thinking about the last day of school also. Sorry. So back to what I was saying. If we did have a number of snow days, what it does mean for us is that we have to work to change the exam schedule, for as an example, at the high school. But we have done that before, and what's better is to have it before school ends rather than after, because no one is happy if you are scheduling graduation after what would be the last day of school and folks have to return for it. So every year we have tried to schedule it obviously after the 180th day, but still within a few days, because we've been lucky enough, it sounds like we won't be this year, allegedly, but we've been lucky enough that with the number of snow days, we've been averaging around 3. It's the most we've had in the last few years, so it has worked well. You know, this year we'll do it, and like I said, who knows what'll happen. But we are set to go if the board approves it tonight, and people will be very happy to make plans out there.
Yes. All right. Someone like to make the motion to approve the graduation date for June 11th, 2026? Thank you, Suzanne. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chris. All in favor? Got 2, 9 in total. Thank you. All right, next, possible action to approve consolidated Title 1, 2, and 3 grants and the Chef Settlement Open Choice Academic and Social Support Grant.
So including in your packet this evening is the annual memo, which is an overview that highlights the way our district plans to allocate grant funding for the major title and chef grants for the school year. As been the case for several years, the bulk of the funding is used to fund non-certified instructional tutors. So we had several questions this evening about intervention services, and those tutors provide a lot of Tier 2 and Tier 3 support for our students. A small amount does go also for staffing from the Title III grant for one of our, to offset slightly the salary of one of our certified ESOL teachers. You'll also see some private schools within our district receiving a portion of the grants. That's because the grants are designated to support all students within the district's boundaries who qualify under the specific title grant, regardless of the school they attend. So they apply for some funding. You'll see those amounts are kind of nice, even numbers at this point, and that's because we're still in the process of receiving some of those. They have a right to get back to us and say, say they're not taking the funds, and then what happens is it slightly impacts the amount another school who claims the funds will receive. So it's very, very close to those amounts, within a few dollars, but it does shift once we get those final approvals from those schools.
Any questions? So you're looking for us to approve the grants and how you want to spend the funds, is that?
Correct.
Right. So I will make the motion to approve the consolidated Title I, II, and III grants and the Chef Settlement Open Choice Academic and Social Support Grant. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have all in favor? Thank you. Got two? Okay, passes unanimously. Perfect. Any further?
I know there was a question. I just wanted, while we were talking about grants, if I could, just give an update. There's been some questions about the seed funding that's in the news for special education. The district is receiving an allocation of seed money that's for special education. I don't know the complete acronym, but it's to promote programs within districts in district. We've received the amount of $3,197. We have only
made a really big deal of this on
Yes,
TV, but
yes,
some of us are getting $3,000.
Yes, $3,000, of which we've received a small amount so far. They front-loaded that for, I guess, cash-poor districts. They may need it to start their programs, but Dr. Fox and I have yet to receive the application for the grant. So even though it's out there, we still don't have the parameters on how we can spend it, but we do have some ideas. We've been talking about using the new Fisher property. We have a suite on the bottom floor that, until we receive funding way in the future, probably, to outfit that into a community room for the town usage, we have a suite that we could convert perhaps into a classroom for homebound tutoring or other in-district things, testing and so forth. So what we're thinking about is using that $3,000 to outfit the conference room space in there to a classroom, and using some of those funds to do that and make it, technology-wise, a BenQ board maybe. I still have to talk to Tom Klein about that and some of the other pieces we need. But we do need the parameters of the grant to make sure these ideas we have work within the parameters of it.
It is the Special Education and Expansion Development Grant, which is part of why we are hoping that this would meet that definition, because we are expanding some of our services by utilizing the money. But again, as Susan said, you have to get the very specific requirements of the grant before you can decide what to do with it.
Because I do know one specific requirement that we cannot do is use it for third-party services. So we couldn't expand our SLP that we contract, or RBTs, or any of those services that we currently have. The language specifically precluded that. So we'll update you once we hear more.
So this is something, again, we'll talk about this in the future, but since it came out here, this is something we've talked about doing for a while, being able to have a place for some additional work with our special education students that are out of school on homebound instruction. That could be non-special ed students also, testing, so forth. And as it stood for the past year, with the air quality being what it was at 34 Simsbury Road, we were not allowed to have students in that building any longer. And so the good news is with this move is that, one, whether or not we do this, we can have students come again when we need to do testing or some of the other things that we actually do at the district offices that involve students. And this would take that one step further, because the space is needed to continue working with our special population of students. You can see our pupil services folks nodding their heads out there. So we're hoping that this is at least the start of that, even though it's a small bit of money.
Thank you. Chris, was that helpful? I know for your meeting tomorrow, you're going to put your minds together and share what different districts are doing. So.
You're going to hear, they're going to be like, we're getting $1 billion. And you're going to be like, well, we got 3,300. And
If 3,100, yeah. All right, communication from the public. Anybody else sign up? All right, communication from Avon Board of Education members. Anyone? Go ahead, Jeff.
Just again, I just want to say it was an honor to be able to attend the Veterans Day celebration at Avon High School. I thought you did a phenomenal job. I was glad I was there. I was glad I got to sit with my son. It was kind of cool. So I just want to kudos to the band in particular, the orchestra. They did a phenomenal, the choir, they did a phenomenal job. I thought it was very, very well done.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Chris.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second? Thank you, Suzanne. All in favor? Aye, passes unanimously at 8:58.
Thank you, everyone.